how's it going? What a long and arduous journey this was. Oh boy, we're finally here in closing arguments, and we're finally here. Finally did it. Now, do I think the family members of John O'Keefe have any answers? Any conclusion to what really happened to John O'Keefe? I can't imagine that they would. A lot of us have felt that the state has really, really fallen short in proving that Karen Read did it. I think they had better experts to prove that, oh, those search histories from Jen McCabe's, they were done at maybe 6:30, Those were the strongest experts that I think they had. Now, in terms of the experts for proving that Karen Read did it, it just fell so short. Oh gosh. Hi, Dory. Hi, Rain. Hello. How's it going? Rain, you're almost there. You're so close. So close. We'll just pretend Rain was first. But oh my gosh. What a wild case. Oh, I think this is the first case that I've seen, first trial that I've watched, that I felt like it was just so bad. It was just so bad for the state. Oh my goodness. They look so something still sitting in court today. Guitar. I think something happened with the autocorrect maybe. Oh, they look so guilty sitting in court, the McCabe's. Oh. Yeah, it's every time when I thought Lolly would be onto something in direct examination, it would just fall short. And I'm just like, where are we going with this? So that's why I'm actually more excited to hear from Lolly's closing argument than I am in the defense. I feel like the defense, they're going to do a good job. They're going to kill it. But in Lolly's closing argument, I want to know what he's going to tell us, because there were so many theories that he brought up that ended up being disproven by his own experts, I felt like, unless I was missing something. Oh gosh, because I mentioned this before. It seems like the state was trying to say Karen Read had access to John O'Keefe's Ring app, went in there, deleted some shit where she deleted the footage of her arriving.
Haven't seen much about this.
Oh my God, hi. It's been a while. Wait, GT Anderson, how are you? How's last time I spoke to you, you were aiming for like a new job and stuff like that. How are you doing? Oh my God, so much to catch up on. Hey Joe, good morning. Hello. But I mentioned this yesterday, and I mentioned this a couple streams also. It's like I'm like a broken record, just on repeat. But I'm just gonna mention just in case anyone else missed it. It seems like they thought Karen Read had access to the Ring app, went in there, deleted it when she arrived from 34 Fairview back to John O'Keefe's house, and deleted the footage when she was showing Kerry Roberts, Jen McCabe, the broken tail light on her car. But from what I've heard, it seems like John O'Keefe's personal computers, there's two of them, didn't have Ring on there, and Ring was only associated with his phone. But we knew that his phone was with John O'Keefe the entire time, because they had someone that talked about, okay, well, John O'Keefe's was like within 3 feet of this area where his body was found. And it was there until, obviously when Kerry Roberts picked it up and gave it to paramedics, and paramedics gave it to law enforcement. Also, I don't know, my screen is my screen good? Verdict is coming? Oh my goodness. They worked through the lunch. Official statement from Yanedi. Oh my Lord. Okay, well, I'm going to listen. Okay, we're going to go out of order. We'll listen to closing arguments. Actually, honestly, I just want to listen to Mr. Lolly's closing arguments, because I felt there's so many things that just didn't go for him. And I want to know if in closing arguments, if he's just going to drop some of those theories, or if he's going to include it in his closing arguments. But, oh man. Oh boy, I think they're going to find her not guilty. I'm surprised they didn't do it a little bit longer though, because I would expect them wanting to talk about everything that they processed, or maybe they just want to get it over with. Like, fuck it, let's just get over with this. I don't know. Let me know if I'm flashing again. It's something with my camera, but it seems like it's good now. Okay, so let's, I'll have the live court feed up. We'll probably go out of order. And closing arguments, they get about an hour each. Oh boy. Oh wait, Lolly's closing argument seems pretty short. Interesting. Is it short? Oh no, just kidding. It's not short. Just kidding. Lolly's closing argument felt like 5 hours. Oh man. All right. Well, I'm just going to hop into it. Sorry. And there was another theory that it seems like Lolly was floating out there that fell short. It was the cell phone, the ring. I forgot what else was there. Oh boy. Okay. Let's just listen to defense closing arguments, starting with Mr. Jackson. I'm going to forward through it. Judge is going to talk. Say hello to the jury. Good morning. We're going to begin our closing arguments. The defense is going first. And I don't know. Why is my camera doing that? Let me see. Maybe I accidentally unplugged something. Or maybe it's loose. Try this again. AJ rocked. I also want to know if Lolly's closing argument is less convoluted. In his opening statements, it was so hard to follow all the different names that he was dropping, especially if you're not familiar with the case, which the jury wouldn't be. They'd be like, who are all these people that you're naming? Why are there so many names here? Okay, I restarted my camera. Let's see how that goes. Okay, now you're back at your department on a specialized unit. Oh, still on the SWAT team? Oh, fun. I finished my time as a TFO for a major case investigation. Oh, dude, your jobs just sound so exciting. Well, thanks for popping in again. It's good to see you. Yeah, let me know if my camera does the jitters again. I don't know why it's doing it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Look the other way. Look the other way. 4 words that sum up the Commonwealth's entire case. 4 words that sum up the hopes of those who have tried to deceive you. Conflicts of interest? Doesn't matter. Just look the other way. Magic hairs, magic glass. Look the other way. Late night calls and Google searches, falsified affidavits, inverted videos, and butt dials galore. Just look the other way.
Butt dials galore.
That's
what a great opening statement. Oh my goodness. Okay. If I was a jury, I'd be like, okay, I'm awake, I'm engaged. What you got, Mr. Jackson?
Want. That's what they're counting on, but the uncontrovertible fact is you have been lied to in this courtroom. And your job is to make sure you don't ever, ever look the other way. Your singular duty is to stare down the evidence and do it unflinchingly and do it unwaveringly. You see, you're the only thing standing between Kieran Reed and the tyranny of injustice. It's a job you didn't ask for, probably a job you didn't want. But it's the greatest responsibility we have as citizens here in America, lest the government stop answering to us and we start answering to the government. And woe betide any one of us, who might find ourselves in the crosshairs of a Michael Proctor. Preparing for today, I was reminded of a quote.
I gotta know what's going on with Michael Proctor. Like, is he on leave? What's going on with Michael Proctor?
It's a quote about the truth, and I want to share it with you. It is of great importance to set a resolution never to tell an untruth. There is no vice so mean, so pitiful, so contemptible, and those who permit themselves to tell a lie once find it much easier to do it a second time and a third. This falsehood of the tongue leads to that of the heart, and in time, it depraves all its good dispositions.
Do y'all remember who did opening statements for the defense? Was it Jackson or was it Yannetti? For some reason, I'm thinking Yannetti, but was it also Jackson?
What does that mean? It means that it's been observed that to tell an untruth, to exaggerate, to make a false claim, it's a cancer. One lie begets another, and it's a malignancy that grows over time. And that, folks, is how a cover-up is born. That's how a Massachusetts state trooper says in whispered tones to his friends when he thought no one was looking or listening, how he would make a case, how he would make it cut and dry, no matter the truth, how he would make sure to put, quote, serious charges on the girl. In other words, pin it on the girl. You may ask yourself, how does this happen? How could this happen? It's 2024. Surely people aren't going to come to this courtroom, this hall of justice, and lie to us, just give us false information. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't try to cover up the truth. The Alberts, the McCabe's, Higgins, Lank, Michael Proctor, Yuri Buchanan, Brian Tully. You don't have to wonder if they would lie to support their narrative. You need only wonder how many times they did lie. Over and over and over, they and others were caught deceiving you. Big things, small things, it didn't really matter. They feared nothing. They'll look you in the eye and deny phone calls. They'll deny secret meetings. They'll claim that calls are butt dials and butt dials are answered. They'll show you a video and tell you left is right and right is left. They'll magically turn 3 pieces of plastic into 5 right before your eyes. And even when they're caught with their own lies, they won't blink, they don't sweat. They'll just look you in the eye and demand, pay no attention. You folks, look the other way. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a cover-up in this case, plain and simple. You'll surely say to yourself, I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe that can happen in our community.
Oh, I see. That's Brian Albert, right? I recognize him. I don't recognize, I don't, that's the mom right there.
But sadly, over the past 8 weeks, you've seen it right before your eyes. So how does a cover-up happen? How could that happen? Well, let's count the ways, shall we? Handpick your investigator. Make sure it's someone we know, someone on our side. Keep him close. Offer him help. Offer him a gift. Have secret friends and family meetings. Get your story straight. Delete your call history. Make mysterious phone calls at 2:22 a.m. Delete Google searches. Monitor police activity. Get rid of evidence. Get rid of your dog. Destroy your phones. Destroy your SIM card. For the investigator, decide on a narrative early on. Don't go to the crime scene. Don't take witnesses in for questioning. Question all the witnesses together. Ignore witnesses who don't fit your narrative. Allow friends and family to contact those same witnesses. Don't record interviews. Write vague and false police reports. Omit witnesses' names. Omit witnesses' interviews altogether. Don't photograph the evidence. Don't conduct any forensics. Don't document the evidence. Don't document the logs. Don't create any logs whatsoever, and don't maintain a chain of custody. Keep all the evidence in the hands of one person, and then manipulate that evidence, including videos.
Hi, lady. How are you doing today? How's it going? Oh my goodness, I put in Elden Ring into my. I started up yesterday to play, but then I forgot that I didn't download the DLC yet, so it took me like an hour and a half to do that.
Don't turn over videos. Invert videos. Turn 4:16 p.m. into 5:30 p.m. in affidavits. Turn 3 pieces of taillight into 5 pieces of taillight. Delete 42 minutes of surveillance footage. Hide personal relationships. Make this case cut and dry, and ensure the homeowner, quote, never sees any shit because he's a Boston cop. But most importantly, pick your patsy and pin it on the girl. It's not that it could happen. It's that every single one of those things I just mentioned did happen.
Hey, everyone.
Right in front of you. But this sort of injustice can't happen in a vacuum. So what about the prosecution? What about the Commonwealth? What does it look like when the government picks a narrative and then tries to form a prosecution around the narrative instead of the other way around? Looks a lot
Ooh, shots fired at Mr. Lally.
like this. If you don't have actual evidence, just throw every single thing you can against the wall to see what sticks.
Also, I want to know, so Lally is assistant DA. The DA Morrissey, I saw his name was signed in some of the motions for this stuff. But Morrissey I don't think has stepped a foot in this courtroom. Is Morrissey busy with another trial? Where's Morrissey at? I want to know where Morrissey at.
Drag her through the mud and make sure you attack her character. And that's what you saw in this case. The Commonwealth spent much of their time and resources trying to vilify Karen Read. They desperately resorted to calling witnesses to talk about Karen Read and John O'Keefe's arguments. They even stooped so low as to call the children and put them through this ordeal. All to say that John sometimes got upset because Karen was too kind, too nice, spoiled them too much. Their arguments illustrated what anybody could imagine is a normal set of ups and downs for any couple. Even on January 28th, they talked it out, they communicated, they worked out their issues, and they had a nice, affectionate evening out with their friends. And you don't have to take my word for it. Pull the tape, as they say. Look at the videos. C.F. McCarthy. Waterfall. What are the words that every single person who testified in this case used about Karen Read and John O'Keefe that night? Getting along. No issues. Good mood. Happy. Affectionate. Even lovey-dovey. No issues. No toxicity. They were a loving couple right up until the time Karen Read dropped him off and he walked into 34 Fairview. If an argument with a loved one is a motive for murder, folks, we're all in trouble. Speaking of which, what is the evidence that John went into the house? The Commonwealth will tell you, undoubtedly, no, he never went in the house. And they'll point to certain witnesses who they say didn't see him go in. Well, the question you have to ask yourself is, can you rely on that? First, these are all people who are related to or committed to the Alberts in some way or another. That all-powerful Canton family, it's easy to say, I didn't see something, because how can that really be challenged? Some actually may not have seen John walk into the house. They were in the kitchen, as you recall, from Nicole. Third, at least one witness, Brian Higgins, forgot his narrative, at least for a second, and he admitted a man did, in fact, come into the house, and when he was caught and asked to describe that man, he had to. It was a little bit.
Yeah, Higgins said that a man came in with dark brown hair, and I was like, where did that come from? The DLC looks hella hard. I heard it was really hard. That's what Jan and I think Nacho were talking about on the Discord.
Vague. You remember what he said? He was tall, with dark hair. That was a telling slip of the tongue by Brian Higgins. But what's the real evidence of the unbiased data, the data that's not connected to the Albert family? How about John's Apple Health data? It shows that at 12:21 a.m., an important time, John arrived. That's established by the monotonic time clock that you heard about in this trial. It was on his phone, and that represents a huge problem for the Commonwealth. It shows that he took 80 steps and ascended or descended 3 flights of stairs at that time.
I'm still confused about the 3 clocks on the phone. Still very confused about that. I re-listened to that testimony over and over again. I'm still so confused about that.
And that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It matches. Walks into the house, goes directly to the basement. There's your 80 steps and your descending flights of stairs. The big problem for the Commonwealth is he wasn't outside at the car ascending and descending stairs, wasn't climbing on top of the car. So they'll tell you, wait, don't look at the Apple Health data. Look at this other thing called Waze. But Rick Green explained that if you apply the 3-minute offset that is built into that monatomic time, it aligns perfectly. They don't want you to see that. They don't want you to pay attention. They want you to look the other way. But even more importantly, at approximately 12:32 a.m., someone holding John's phone takes another 36 steps and travels 25 meters. Why is that so important? Because by 12:32 a.m., Karen Reed was gone. She had already left the location. She left at 12:30. Trooper Garino told you that Karen Reed's phone connected to John's Wi-Fi at what time? 12:36. It is undisputed in this case that it's a 6-minute drive on a good day from 34 Fairview over to One Meadows. She was gone by 12:30, and John's phone was taking 36 steps and logging 25 meters at 12:32 after she left. So don't be fooled. John walked into that house, after which Karen drove away, and the scientific data all prove it. But also, Ryan Nagel and Heather Maxson prove it. In addition to the Apple Health data, Ryan and Heather both independently testified that they passed Karen's SUV as they drove away after talking to Julie, and Karen was alone in the SUV. John was not with her. He wasn't in the car. He wasn't standing outside the car. He wasn't sitting beside the car. He wasn't laying on the ground beside the car. He was nowhere in sight. There's only one other place that John could have been, and that's in the house, exactly where the Apple Health data places him. So it all fits. And Ryan was right behind her, remember, staring at her taillights, undamaged, brightly lit. That brings up another difficulty for the Commonwealth, and that's their star witness, Jennifer McCabe. You'll recall that Jennifer McCabe claimed that she was looking out the door, staring at that SUV over and over and over again from 12:29 to 12:50. She was very specific about that time frame. But we know that the SUV was gone from 34 Fairview by about 12:30.
Oh, I thought she said 12:30 to 12:45. For some reason, I remember 12:45.
Had to be in order to connect to the Wi-Fi at 12:36. So unequivocally, Jennifer McCabe was lying about watching that SUV, and it makes you wonder why. And to add to that deceit, she was also blatantly lying about the calls to John's phone. You remember that colloquy back and forth. She said that every single one of those calls to John's phone during that time was a butt dial. How are those lies connected? And why are they connected? Jennifer McCabe knows. Was she butt dialing John over and over?
Where is Jen McCabe at? Is she somewhere back there? I didn't see her. She might have been back there if they zoom out.
Or was someone looking for John's phone that went missing? Let's talk for a second about what actually happened in the time leading up to everyone going to 34 Fairview. Brian Albert, Brian Higgins show up drunk at the waterfall. They'd been drinking in the afternoon. You know about the flirtatious texts that were sent between Karen Reed and Brian? Higgins was clearly pining over Karen, but for her, the flirtation had ran its course. It was done. She was happy and committed to John. You can see that in her actions with John that night. You don't have to guess. Brian Higgins, however, you can see in his actions, he wasn't quite so satisfied, and he wasn't done. His text message, well, meaning, what the hell, Karen? What about me? Seemed aggressive, seemed annoyed. He didn't like being ignored. That was pretty clear. So he's 5 or 6 whiskeys deep into the night by this time, and she continued to ignore him. Then oddly, Higgins, who doesn't know John all that well, seems to want to coax John to 34 Fairview. I'll draw your attention to the waterfall tape if you want to take another look at it. It's at the 11:50.
I thought Higgins was friends with John, though.
7 mark, between 11:57 and 11:58. Take a look at that tape. He's just about to leave. Higgins is just about to leave. He points over at John, and he motions for him. Come on, come with me. And then at 12:20, he texts him, you coming here? This is a person he doesn't really know and didn't really talk to that entire night. Ask yourself, why was Higgins so insistent that John go to 34 Fairview that night?
I think it's because he wanted Karen to go there.
And then there's that
I think he wanted John to show up with Karen.
And fighting that he and Brian Albert were engaged in. Of all the things they could be doing, this is what they were doing just minutes before John O'Keefe walked into that house at 34 Fairview. We know that once John actually did walk in the door, it's about 2 steps, 4 feet or so, 2 steps for an adult male to reach that basement door. Remember, everybody was gathered in the kitchen. That's what Nicole Albert said. And every single witness agreed that at some point, Brian Higgins and Brian Albert left the group and went to another room. Where did they go? Where did they go together? Another important point. Chloe was not upstairs. Brian Albert slipped in one of his testimony that he provided. Quote, I was watching Chloe downstairs, monitoring her because of the other people in the house. She's not good with strangers. Remember that testimony. So what happened next? We absolutely know that John was in the house. The data, Ryan, Heather, they all established that. We know that John ascended or descended stairs. We know that Brian Higgins and Brian Albert excused themselves. How long does it take to have a crossword? How long does it take to have a fight? How long would it take for Brian Higgins to say to John, you know, your girl's been texting me. A push, a punch, a fall, pull Chloe off his arm, and now it's done. What is that? 5 seconds? 10? Doesn't take long at all. And then the panic sets in. It wasn't intended to go that far, but what's done is done. And then some very, very odd things start happening at the Albert household. Very odd indeed. What do we know? We know through the testimony and key swipes that Brian Higgins very oddly goes directly to Canton Police Department. Why would he do that? After a night of drinking and partying, why go to CPD when you're drunk? What was so important there? He couldn't even get his own story straight. First he said it was administrative work, then he said he was moving cars, then he said it was a factor of both. Is it both? Was it neither? Or was he there to gather intel?
Hi, Carolyn.
Ask yourself, why go? But the odd things keep piling up, and here's another. Chloe was the Albert family pet. Not only did she appear to be gone from the house that morning on January 29th, nobody saw her there. Even Jen McCabe admitted that.
That's why they asked Caitlin, did you take Chloe with you? Was it Caitlin? That's her name, right? Caitlin Albert. When she testified, when her boyfriend was supposed to come and pick her up, they were like, oh, did you take Chloe with you? And she's like, what? No.
You're there. But they actually got rid of the dog altogether. Within months of this incident, the dog was gone, out of the house, rehomed, never to be seen again. This was a dog they'd had for 7 years. Also a dog who had a bite history. Why was it so important to get rid of that dog? Was there something about the dog they did not want law enforcement to find out? Recall what Dr. Russell said. She's seen up to 1,000 animal attacks. In her expert opinion, John's right arm, those injuries are from an animal, quote, most likely.
I don't remember seeing that, Gemini. Gemini says, have you seen the video of the waterfall when they're about to leave? Higgins is pointing at John, gesturing for him to come inside. I don't remember seeing that, no.
Likely a large dog. And Dr. Russell's testimony, I'll remind you, was undisputed by any witness for the Commonwealth. But there are more odd and unexplained things. After a night of drinking and hanging out and partying, after being together for the entire day, at 2:22 a.m., Brian Albert decides to call Brian Higgins. That call was missed, but 17 seconds later, Higgins calls Brian back, and they speak for 22 seconds. Now, that call is odd and suspicious enough, and just in and of itself, the fact that the call was made. But what's even more incriminating is that both men, both of them, lied about the calls happening. They both claim astonishingly that those calls are, you probably say it with me, the butt dials. Amazing.
Say it with me, y'all.
But Albert and Higgins take it a step further. Not only did they claim that they were making calls as butt dials, but they were answering calls as butt dials. And Higgins seemed awfully defensive about that call. Didn't remember on cross-examination when I was asking him, can you have a conversation in 22 seconds? He unequivocally said, no, that's impossible. It's not reasonable. You can't do it. Well, let's test that out. Hey, did you make it over to Canton? Yep. Haven't been any calls. Nobody knows a thing. All right, don't talk to anybody until we talk again. Okay, fine. And by the way, come back over. I need help moving something heavy. How long did that take? 15 seconds, maybe? But the odd behavior isn't done yet. 5 minutes after that call that we just talked about, Jennifer McCabe is on her phone at her house, Google searching how long it takes for someone to die in the cold. That was at 2:27 a.m. That timeline seems to fit, doesn't it? And it fits a very telling and a very clear story. That search became a focal point of the Commonwealth's entire case. This case was starting to look a lot more like the defense of Jennifer McCabe than anything else. That's probably because there is...
Oh, wait, should we do a poll? Maybe we should do a poll. I'm looking at the long crime chat right now to see what people are saying. I'm actually really surprised to see people saying guilty. Guilty, no doubt. I'm like, no doubt, guilt. What? Okay, let's do a poll. Start a poll. Not guilty.
No innocent explanation for that Google search at 2:27 a.m. None. At the end of the day, clearing away all the confusion, the Commonwealth's experts were left with two things that are true. First, neither of their experts could absolutely rule out that Jennifer McCabe made that search at 2:27 a.m. Neither. And second, the only person to use the actual phone model, the actual data, and the actual precise...
I did the poll on YouTube. Come on YouTube and do the poll. On Twitch, I don't know. How do I do the poll on Twitch again?
...operating system was Rick Green. And he was clear. That search was at or before 2:27 a.m. And then it was deleted. So what else was going on at or around this same time when all this suspicious activity was happening at the Albert house and the McCabe house? 3 minutes after that search and 8 minutes after the Albert Higgins 2:22 a.m. call, Brian Loughran drives down the street in his snowplow. And he told you that there is no body laying on the lawn at 34 Fairview at 2:30 in the morning. Importantly, he didn't just simply say he didn't see a body, he wasn't paying attention. He said there was no body there. He knows the property, he knows the owners, he's grown up with these folks, he passes by all the time, not once, not twice, 3 passes. There was nobody on that lawn, period, at 2:30 a.m. And what other suspicious thing happened that night? By 3:30 a.m., someone moved a Ford Edge in front of the very area that would obstruct the view of where John's body would ultimately be discovered. Who's the only person in this case that you've heard about with the Ford Edge? Brian Albert. Remember, as you're thinking about this, the basement at 34 Fairview is serviced...
I wonder the Albert family, because I know they moved. I wonder if that at their new place, do they have camera footage now? I feel like just get some security cam footages, okay? Oh, man.
...by a bulkhead. It's a quick and convenient door to the backyard. And that backyard is serviced by a side fence. And that side fence is easily accessible to the front yard at the side of the house. Which side of the house? The side where John's body was found. And by 6 a.m., John's body was, in fact, now outside. Well, this flurry of suspicious activity was going on with the Alberts and the McCabes. What's happening with Karen? All she knows at this point, think about it, at approximately 2:21, she dropped off John, he walked into 34 Fairview, and that's all she knows. She knows nothing else that was going on. So what was she left to think? He goes in to check the party out, but all of a sudden he's not coming back. He's not responding. Minutes start to pass. 1 minute turns to 2, 2 turn to 10. Where is he? Why isn't he responding? She's sitting in the cold, dark, freezing outside in the car. Naturally, she's perturbed. Being perturbed turns into being peeved. Being peeved eventually turns into being pissed. By 12:30, Karen's mad. She's left 34 Fairview to make a point, but she's still texting and calling. What could she reasonably be thinking at this point? What's going through her mind? 12:33 turns into 12:34. I can't believe you do this to me. 12:34 turns into 12:35. Where is he? Why aren't you answering, John? 12:35 turns to 12:36. Jesus Christ. I'm calling and you're not answering. Where are you? Pick up the phone. But there's still no answer. There's still no response. By 12:37, she's getting furious. She does not know that something has happened to John. She does not know that. So she leaves the first angry voicemail. Illustrates frustration, aggravation, all the normal responses anybody might have, you and I might have. But little did she know. The next open voicemail has Karen parking at John's garage after she gets home. You can hear her heels clicking across the garage floor. For all she knows at this point, John's just drunk, he's been partying, he's hanging out, just forgot about her, blowing her off. But John's still not responding, and as the minutes tick by, Karen becomes increasingly upset. Those are the voicemails that you heard. How could he do this? Why is he ignoring me? Why?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think the voice messages were that bad for her. I thought they were going to be so much more worse, but when we heard them, I was like, they didn't sound that bad to me.
Why is he ignoring the kids? Those are the thoughts bearing down on Karen Reed as she sat in an empty house late at night by herself. Ladies and gentlemen, she did not know what had happened to John. But within the next voicemail, you quickly learned what she was thinking, what she was feeling. Now it's 5:23 a.m. She's woken up, she's realized that he hasn't come home and he hasn't responded to a single text.
Also, they said that she called John like, 50, 60 times or something like that? I wish we could have saw the call logs of like, how long was she calling John throughout the night? Or did it stop abruptly at like after like 2:30 a.m. and it started up again at 5 a.m.? Or was she calling throughout the night? I don't know. I just have so many questions.
A single call, and anger quickly turns to panic and abject fear. She's so distraught, she reaches out to him again. John, where the fuck are you? She says through tears and desperation. And at 6:03, the question was answered, and her worst fears are realized when she finds his body laying, dying in the cold, in Brian Albert's front yard. You heard her. You can feel the grief. You can feel the raw anguish. You can see it. You don't have to wonder the emotional journey that Karen traveled that night. You can see it in the video. You can hear it in the audio. From the time he left her and walked into 34 Fairview and she called, she reached out 53 times. She called him 53 times before finding his body. Think about that. The Commonwealth wants you to believe that she murdered this man. And then after that murder, she called him not once, not twice, 53 times. It makes no sense. What does make sense is that she emotionally moved from anger, then to panic, then to grief. So back at 5:07, when she began her search looking for John, she backed out of the garage, and what would happen next would change the entire course of this case. As she backed out of that garage, she hit John's Traverse and cracked her right rear taillight. Folks, the Commonwealth has one job to do in this courtroom. And
what was so disappointing about this is that the state didn't have someone get John's car, get Karen's car, and see if the damage would even line up. Like for me, I don't think it would have happened. But at least get someone to line up the two cars to be like, oh, hey, like this is how it could have lined up or how it couldn't have lined up. But the fact that they didn't do that, I'm like, why didn't you guys do that? If you guys truly believe that she didn't break her taillight when she backed up into John's car, why not fucking prove that? What the fuck? I don't know. Just asking too much. We're just asking for too much, you know?
The immutable responsibility to provide you
Maybe it did line up and they're like, oh shit, we're not going to use it.
The truth. That's it. Not to win the case, but to seek justice and to do it through the truth. Ask yourself, did you get that truth from the Commonwealth? The Commonwealth continually tried to tell you that video showed that the SUV came close to John's Traverse, and it took us showing you the video to unequivocally establish that Karen hit that car and cracked her taillight at 5:07. You can almost hear an audible gasp in the courtroom when we finally showed you the actual video. You can see that tire move. I'm only going to show you one series of exhibits during my entire closing, but it's that important. And it's this.
Anderson, have a good day at work. Thank you so much for the resub. Yeah, I'll see you again soon. They botched so much stuff. I feel like they missed so much. Yeah.
Look at the condition of her taillight when she pulls out of the driveway at 5:07. That taillight, and let me choose my words very carefully here. That taillight is cracked, but it's not completely damaged. And if there was any question in your mind about the level of damage to that taillight at 5:07, all doubt was extinguished.
Oh, so Lolly fucked himself. So Lolly freeze frame at a point where I was like, oh, it looks like a chunk is missing. And then when he freeze framed it again, 2 seconds after, I'm like, wait a second. No, it kind of looks red to me. I can't tell. And then Lolly kept using that second freeze frame over and over again. I'm like, Lolly, in the freeze frame that you're using, it looks like the red is still there. Oh gosh.
When Dighton police officer...
But also, for me, it just looks like pixels. Okay, it just looks like pixels. It's hard for me to tell. It depends on how you freeze frame it. Sometimes it looks like there's a chunk missing. Sometimes it looks like there's a good amount of red in there. So, if I was the jury, I might just be like, I don't know if I care about this video.
Walked into this courtroom. He's a sworn officer. He's not associated with Canton. He's not associated with the.
Yeah, and they should have conceded to that. They should have been like, okay, she backed up, and yes, it did hit John's car. They should have said like it tapped John's car, because when they kept saying, oh, like, you know, what did you see when she backed up? They're like, oh, I don't see anything. It's like, no, it obviously made contact, and you know it made contact because this fucking footage has been in the news. Why would you go up there, put your witnesses, have them go up there and pretend like, oh, the two cars never touch? They did touch. At least concede to that. I don't know. It's just like weird stuff like that. They wouldn't concede to, and I'm like, it makes you guys look really fucking bad. Because then what else is there that you guys aren't conceding to? Oh.
Alberts. He's not associated with the McCabe's. He doesn't know Michael Proctor. In other words, he doesn't answer to any of these folks. He's an outsider and he's completely independent. And his words were the following, quote, that taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked. A piece was missing, but not completely damaged. Take a look at this photograph and tell me, which one looks like Officer Barros' description? The one on the left or the one on the right? The reconstructed light on the left is what that light looked like before it was in Trooper Proctor's possession. Remember that. That's what it looked like before